ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। So we were looking at the Bhashya at the end of the first Brahmana of the second chapter, where Bhashyakara is arguing with the Dvaitins, different types of Dvaitins. So there is a Vakya Satyasya Satyam. Also, if you see the original Upanishad Vakya, you can see it says that Tasmad Atmanaha, like that, correct? Tasya Upanishad. So what does this Tasya and Tasmad, all these pronouns refer to the Jivatma or the Paramatma? That is the argument. Already we saw that one Dvaitin says that it is Jivatma, and that was refuted by Bhashyakara. Then the other one says it is Paramatma, but Paramatma and Jivatma are different. So this is the Dvaitin, because Paramatma is Asamsari, Jivatma is Samsari. Like this, there is a big difference between the Paramatma and Jivatma, therefore they cannot be one. Then in between, one more person comes, the Bheda Bhedavadin. He says, see, both of you are unreasonable, the Advaitin and the Dvaitin. Actually, I am the only one who gives proper meaning, where both Dvaita Vakyas and Advaita Vakyas, both of them can be made sense of from the explanation which I am giving. Okay. So that is where this portion it starts. Atra kechid pariharam achakshate. Because Bhashyakara gave the Pravesha Shruti and essentially negated the view of the Dvaitin, saying that the same Paramatma only has entered and is appearing as Jivatma. This is established by all the Shrutis, and there are so many Aikya Vakyas are also there. Therefore, Dvaita interpretation is not correct. At that point, this Bheda Bhedavadin comes and says that Paramatma, one portion of the Paramatma has become the Jivatma, something like that. They are giving the meaning. Therefore, whatever the Dvaita Vakyas, they are also true, but the Abheda Vakyas also we can give meaning. Now, in this context, Bhashyakara says that there are only three ways you can talk about this Vikara. That Jivatma is a Paramatma Vikara, is a modification of the Paramatma. What are the three possibilities or three pakshas? That is what he is calling as Gati. Gati here means essentially the different possibilities or pakshas. One is, we saw a couple of them already. Prithivi Dravyavat Aneka Dravya Samaharasya. Aneka Dravya Samahara means basically a compound of many different substances, or simply a collection or a group of many different substances is called the earth, correct? Earth itself is made up of many substances, and in which one substance is the clay. From that clay you can make a pot. Now similarly, the analogy is what? This Paramatma is a conglomeration or a compound of many different substances, out of which one is Chaitanyam also. Chetanatvam also is one part of that. And that Chetana only has become the Vijnanatma. This is one argument. Now this argument Bhashyakara negated by saying, in fact, you cannot establish any ekatvam based on this argument, because to start with only there are many substances, correct? These many substances, although you are calling them as one Prithvi and all that, it is only upachara, it is only figurative. In fact, in this argument, you cannot even say that there is only one Paramatma because many different things are there. So in fact, it will become, there is no ekatvam here, means we can look at it in two ways. He says, ekatvam upacharitam eva, natu paramarthataha. Means, you cannot even say there is only one Paramatma, because there are so many substances, means, even though you call it by one name, you cannot really say there is only one Paramatma. Or even if you say there is, this whole thing is called Paramatma, the Jivatma Paramatma Ekatvam also you cannot establish in any way. So this argument is Siddhanta Virodha, he says, Tatacha Sati Siddhanta Virodha. So this we have seen already. Then we were seeing the next argument, I think, which is the next Paksha, is slightly different from this. What is that? Purva Samsthana Avastasya va Parasya Ekadeshaha Vikriyate Kesha Usharadivate. Okay, this is the second Paksha or the possibility. In this case, there is only one Paramatma, let us say. But still, that Paramatma is having avayavas or parts which are always connected to it. Okay, it is not like different substances simply being called as one. It is like, let us say, a car. A car is a car only when all the parts are put together and it is functioning, correct? Or a watch is a watch when all the substances are put together and it is functioning. So similarly, there is only one Paramatma here, but it is avayavi. It is having different parts. It is the whole which is having parts. And one part of it has become the Jivatma. Okay. In fact, this is the closest argument, or this is the closest to Vishishtadvaita. The Vishishtadvaita, which later on Ramanuja actually tried to establish, is talking about like this only, where there is only one Paramatma, but who is a Avayavi, who is Saguna. And one Avayava of that Paramatma only has become the Jivatma. Like even here he says, one person is there. For that person, hair is one, or hair need not be there also on your head, correct? One portion of your head is having hair, Kesha is there. Or Usharadivat means, you can even, Ushara means basically it is a desert or some kind of a saline area. We can take even with reference to the earth, one portion of the earth is a desert. But earth is still one earth. Part of it is only desert, not everywhere it is desert. Like that, our hair is there only in one portion of the human body, in the Purusha. So like this, one part is different from others, and that part only has become this Jiva. So this is the Ekadesha Vikara. Okay, Ekadeshaha Vikriyate, like that Bhashyakara says clearly. Now this is the argument now he is trying to negate next. The third one is very straightforward. He says the whole thing has become Jivatma, which is not a real Paksha. Nobody seriously argues like that Paramatma has now become Jivatma and there is no more Paramatma. It is like milk has become curd. That argument, not much time is spent. But the second one is what here, Ata Nitya Ayuta Siddha Avayava Anugataha Avayavi Paraatma. So Paraatma in this Paksha, in this argument is what? Is always having Avayavas, which are all again which are all there. Like even let us take a cloth. Okay, we take a cloth. At least according to the Nayayika, the cloth is made up of yarn, correct? And these yarns have come together, and then only they are a cloth. So the yarns are the avayava of cloth. They make up the cloth. And they have to be together always, correct? One yarn is there here, another yarn is 1 kilometer away, means it is not a cloth. They have to be together always, and then only they make up the cloth. So like this Paramatma also is there, made up of all these avayavas, different avayavas, which are all there together always. That is the idea here. Nitya, Ayuta, Siddha, Avayava, Anugataha. That is the meaning of that. So the whole, which is made up of parts which are there together always, that is the Paramatma. Then what? Tasya tad avastasya ekadeshaha. In that one yarn, let us say, or a few yarns have a different color. As the cloth itself is having one color, then what? Couple of yarns are having a different color. That is ekadesha, correct? One part of that is different. A few yarns are different. That is what we say Vijnanatma Samsari. So the one part of the Paramatma is the Vijnanatma, or the individual conscious being, who is also the Samsari, who leads a life of becoming. So this is the explanation. Now here also there is a problem. That's what Bhashyakara is pointing out. What is that? Tadapi, even then what? Sarva avayava anugatatvat avayavinaha eva avayavagataha doshaha gunaha va iti. So what he is trying to point out is the avayavi is there in all the avayavas, because all the avayavas only make up the avayavi, or the whole, means the parts make up the whole, means whole is also there in each of the parts. That means any guna or dosha, any merit or demerit, or any good characteristic or defect of the parts will become the defect or qualities of the whole also. Because if even one yarn is of a different color, that color also is now part of the whole, correct? It will be there in the cloth. You cannot say that no, cloth is still white, even though couple of yarns are dark or black in between, means that blackness will be there in the cloth overall if you see. So you cannot say that the dosha or the guna which is there in the parts will not accrue or will not be counted for the whole. That is not correct, because the whole inheres in the parts. Therefore what? So Vijnanatmanaha samsaritva doshena parayava atma sambadhyate iti. So because the implication of this is what? Now if you say this Vijnanatma, individual conscious being, is a samsari, that defect will also come to the Paramatma. So your contention that Paramatma is asamsari will go for a toss, will not stand anymore. You are having a problem because of this. And this also is not a desirable interpretation. So he says, Yamapi Anishta Kalpana. He says, this imagination of yours also is Anishta only. It is not something which is desirable for your own, whatever. Your own Siddhanta also cannot stand with this kind of an interpretation. Then the third one is, he just dismisses it. He says, Kshiravat Sarva Parinama Apekshe Sarva Parinama Pakshe Sarva Shruti Smriti Kopaha Sacha Anishtaha, he says. Okay, so this like milk, the entire Paramatma has become curd, or the Jivatma. Milk has become curd, like that Paramatma has become Jivatma. That whole thing has modified. This doesn't gel with any of the Shruti or Smriti Vakyas. So that is undesirable. And then he quotes now the different Shrutis. Nishkalam, Nishkriyam, Shantam. This is Shvetashvara Upanishad. Okay, so Paramatma is Nishkalam, does not have any parts, doesn't have any activities. Okay, Nishkriyam. Similarly, Divyaha, hi Amurtaha Purushaha, Sabhahyabhyantaraha, hi Ajaha. Mundaka Upanishad. So it is Amurtaha. Okay, there is no any form in it, name or form, both are not there. how can the formless have any avayava? Does the space have any avayava? Like this, you can ask a question, because normally even the Nayayikas say that space does not, Akasha does not have any avayavas. Okay, and there is a Laukika Nyaya. According to the Nayayika also, worldly logic is what? That anything which is Niravayava only will be Nitya. That which has an Avayava cannot be Nitya or eternal. All this, they also talk about that. So here it is very clear, Upanishads are saying that Brahman is, or Paramatma is Amurtaha, it is formless, and it is there outside, inside, everywhere. It is not born, it is unborn. Okay. And Shatapatha Brahmana also says Akashavat Sarvagatascha Nityaha. So this Brahman is Nitya. Nitya means it cannot have Avayava, because anything which has Avayava, anything which is put together will fall apart. Okay. Therefore it cannot be Nitya. Whatever is put together will fall apart. But this Atma is like Akasha, it is all pervading, and it is Nitya, it is eternal. It is not even subjected to time. That is the real meaning of eternal. Sava Yesha Mahan Ajaha Atma Ajaraha Amaraha Amritaha. So this Brihadaranyaka also later 4.4.25, this Mahan Ajaha, unborn Atma, which is Ajaraha, does not age. Okay, Amaraha doesn't die. Amritaha, it's immortal. Then Gita, Najayate Mriyate va Kadachit. So this Atma is neither born nor does it die. Najayate Mriyate va Kadachit Nayam Bhutva Bhavita va na Bhuyaha Ajo Nitya Shashvatoyam Puranaha Nahanyate Hanyamane Sharire. So that verse basically Bhagavan there is teaching Arjuna and telling this is Atma does not have Shad Bhava Vikara. It's not born, and then it does not grow, nor does it decline. Correct? So Asti Jayate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyate, Vinashyati, and all that we say, the Shad Bhava Vikara we say. Anything which is born undergoes 6 forms of, or 6 types of changes or modifications. Okay. So it is born, it is there, then it grows, then when you become an adult, there is a certain transformation, correct? And then even after becoming adult, you grow for some time, but then again you start becoming old, you are declining. And then finally death is there. All these 6 types of changes are not there for Atma. Also Avyaktaha ayam Avyaktoyam Achintyoyam Avikaryoyam Uchyate Tasmadevam Viditvainam Nanushochitum Arhasi. Later on, in the 2nd chapter itself, this Atma is called Avyaktaha. Avyaktaha means what? Bhashyakara here gives a very nice Bhashya there. He says, Sarva Karana Avishayatvat na Vedyate iti Avyaktaha. So Avyaktaha means it is not an object for any Karana. Any instrument cannot get hold of this Atma. Means even Karana here means any Pramana also, because Prama Karanam is Pramanam, correct? So it is not an object of any means of knowledge, nor it is an object of any other Karana, like see even a sword or any weapon also can be looked upon as an instrument of destruction, but it doesn't become an object of any instrument, whether it's a knowledge instrument or an instrument of action. Okay. So when it is not an object, how can it be destroyed? Then it can never be destroyed, correct? Or since it is never an object, what follows? Avyaktoyam achintyoyam. So you cannot think about it means what? It is not an object of your mind also, because it is always the subject. It is the eternal subject. So it is neither an object of any bahya indriya, neither an object of your antakarana. Therefore, what? It is avikara also. It leads to that, correct? It never changes because it is the subject which is always of the form of Chaitanya Swarupam. So it is avikara and it never changes means what? Then it cannot have any parts. Okay. So it cannot change like, or whatever you are saying that the one part Ekadesha Vikara is what the Purupakshi is talking, correct? That also doesn't make any sense. There cannot be any Ekadesha Vikara. There cannot be any Vikara at all. Then only we are going to talk about Ekadesha Vikara. And also something which never changes means it has to be Niravayava. That is also implied there. Niravayavatvacha avikriyaha, we can say like that. Because it has no change means what? It doesn't have any avayavas. Because only that which has avayava or parts changes. That is seen in the vyavahara, in the worldly transactions also. Okay. Therefore, from Niravayavam also is implied by saying avikriyaha. So this Bhagavad Gita also is very clear. So ityadi shruti smriti nyaya viruddha ete sarve pakshaha, he says finally. Okay. So all the three pakshas which were delineated earlier, all of them are untenable. They are all opposed to Shruti, Smriti, and also logic. And one more point also Bhashyakara makes here. He says, Achalasya Paramatmanaha Ekadesha Pakshe Vijnanatmanaha Karma Phala Desha Samsarana Anupapattihi, he says. Now, if you say this Paramatma, one part of this Paramatma alone has become this Jivatma. This is like saying, like I told you, correct? Cloth is there, one yarn alone has become something. Now, as part of this becoming something, this yarn has to go somewhere else, correct? In the case of the Jivatma has to do all the karma, and that karma phala has to take this Jivatma to Swarga, let us say. Now, but Paramatma is Achala. Paramatma does not move. So Paramatma cannot go to Swarga. Nor Jivatma alone can go by coming out of this Paramatma, because Jivatma is anyway an inalienable part of Paramatma, correct? According to you. If the yarn is inalienably a part of the cloth, yarn alone cannot go somewhere, correct? When the cloth is sitting here. That's what Bhashyakara is saying here. So how then your whole Vaidika Vyavastha itself goes for a toss here. All the Karma Kanda also is gone if you interpret like this. Or the other way around. Or no, if you say no, Paramatma also goes to Swarga. Then Paramatma will become samsari. You only told Paramatma is asamsari. So whichever way you look at it, it doesn't gel. All these three pakshas are untenable. So parasyava samsaritvam iti uktam. So if you say otherwise means what? This Paramatma alone will become the samsari. Therefore what? Parasya ekadeshaha. Okay, now the Purvapakshi comes back. Okay, he says, Parasya ekadeshaha Agni Vispulingavate Sputitaha Vijnanatma Samsari iti chet. So now he is saying this Jivatma is like the spark. Paramatma is like the fire. Now that is the analogy which is given in the Shruti itself, correct? So we know that fire and spark are different. There are many sparks coming out of the fire. Similarly, if we take that example as it is, we have to accept that, or we can even say that spark is some kind of a modification of the fire, correct? It is a In form, at least it is a modification. Fire is big fire, spark is a very small part of that. So, taking that analogy, can't we say that, or isn't it clear? He says that this samsari vijnanatma is like the Agni Vispulinga, like a spark. So how are you saying it is not proper and all that? Now Bhashyakara now explains very interesting. He says, Tatapi, okay, let us take your Agni Vispulinga analogy literally. In fact, later on Bhashyakara will beautifully argue about how to interpret Shruti, what is a pramana, etc. But before that, here, this is more of a going along with the Purva Pakshi and arguing. So what he says, Tatapi parasya avayava sputanena shata praptihi, he says. So if you say there is avayava for the Paramatma, and then that avayava has gone out of the Paramatma, correct? Like even your spark was part of the fire, then spark has become separate now. Then what? There will be a injury for the Paramatma. Shata praptihi means what? There is some kind of a it is a decline only, correct, for the Paramatma. One avayava is left. So it is a Kshata Praptihi is there. It attains to a certain decline or injury, you can say. Again what? Tat samsaranecha paramatmanaha pradeshantara avayava vyuhe chidrata papraptihi. So this spark which has become separate and now it has become a samsari, you say, and that samsari is going from one place to another also, means what? Because that samsari is no more part of the whole is going to have a hole now, okay, without the W. There is a chidrata, there is one place which is not occupied by originally whatever part was to be there. Therefore, the whole is going to have a hole, okay. So, whole will get a dent kind of a thing, let us say at least. Therefore, what? Avranatva vakya virodhascha, because akayam, avranam and all that is there, correct? The Shruti Vakya is there. So this Paramatma cannot be hurt. Now that Vakya is going to have a problem if you say this. Okay. So Avranatvam means it will contradict that Avrana Shruti. So whatever you are saying is not correct. And Atma Avayava Bhutasya Vijnanatmanaha Samsarane Paramatma Shunya Pradesha Abhavat Avayavantara Nodana Vyuhanabhyam Hridaya Shulena Iva Paramatmanaha Dukkitva Praptihi. So not only is the Shruti Vakya is very clear, Akayam, Avranam, both of these things you are already, your position is going against that. But further what? Paramatma is there everywhere. There is no place where Paramatma is not there. So even if you say this Jivatma has now become a samsari and Jivatma is going somewhere else, but it is going within Paramatma only, that means it is going to go and it has gone from here and gone somewhere else within the Paramatma, and there it is bulging. One place it has become like a dent, and then in another place it is going to become bulging. It is like having Hridaya Shulena Iva means what? In your heart there is some kind of a aneurysm or whatever modern terminology if we use. Okay, it will become a problem like that for Paramatma. It will become a dukkitva prapti. It will become dukkha. It will become painful for the Paramatma. Not only one Jivatma, correct? All Jivatmas will be doing this. Therefore, whatever you are saying, Bhashyakara initially argues like this. Literally, he takes whatever the Purvapakshi is saying and trying to show how illogical or how can we put it? It is a joke, really, correct? It doesn't really gel at all. If we analyze it, nobody can really accept it. Okay. But now Purvapakshi is still not ready to give up. He says, Agni Vispulingadi Drishtanta Shrutehe na doshaha iti chet. He still holds on to that. He says, see, Shruti is saying, you don't give all this Vyavahara logic. Okay. Shruti is Baliyan. Shruti is stronger than any of your Laukika logic. Okay, worldly logic. Like this, he is arguing now. So Shruti itself has given this Drishtanta. And from this Drishtanta, we have derived this particular interpretation. And that interpretation is going against worldly logic and all, fine. But still it is Shruti. Shruti is powerful. So you have to go along with whatever Shruti is saying because it is Alaukika Vishya, he is saying. See, Laukika logic, we can argue only for Laukika things. This is also, these people argue, I think. Within the world, if I am revealing something and if it goes against the worldly logic, fine, I can change myself. But here, whatever Shruti is revealing is Alaukika. It is not within the realms of this world, transactional world. And therefore, we have to just take whatever it gives. This is the argument they are making. Okay. So this is where how we have to interpret the Shruti. What is a pramana? All these things Bhashyakara brings in very beautifully. So he says, na. So even whatever this argument is wrong. Why he says, Shruter Nyapakatvat. Shruti can only reveal whatever is there as it is. Shruti cannot change anything. Shruti cannot change even whatever is happening in the Vyavahara, it cannot change that. That means essentially what Bhashyakara is saying, Shruti cannot go against whatever has been already revealed by the worldly means of knowledge like Pratyaksha and Anumana. It has to go along with that and reveal whatever else it is revealing. Alaukika also, which is as it is. It doesn't change anything. So he says, na shastram padarthan anyata kartum pravrittam. He says, so it doesn't go about or it doesn't start revealing something to change something. It cannot change anything. It only reveals whatever is there as it is. And whatever it reveals cannot change an established knowledge. That is the idea here. Okay, anyata kartum means what? It doesn't change an established cognition or whatever already is known through other means of knowledge. It cannot simply go against that or change it just because it is Shruti. So, kim tarhi yatha bhutanam ajñatanam jnapane. So, basically what? It is only whatever is unknown to you through other means of knowledge, but as it is the reality, it is going to reveal. Jnapane, it is revealing to you. That is what it is doing. It is not there to change whatever is already known. Like this, when Bhashyakara says, he says, so what? Kincha ataha. What is the implication of whatever you are saying and whatever I have given an argument. Shruti is stronger. And whatever Shruti reveals, only we have to take. Then Bhashyakara patiently says, Shrinu, listen. Ataha yad bhavati yata bhuta murta murtadi padartha dharmaha loke prasiddhaha tad drishtanta upadanena tad virodhi eva tad avirodhi eva vastuvantram jnapayitam pravritam shastram. So what Bhashyakara says is, listen here, see, whatever is there, correct, in this world, if you see that there are both what murta and amurta padarthas are there. Gross and subtle, you can say. Murta and amurta means gross and fine, or gross and subtle, or those which are tangible and those which are intangible. Like that, we can give different meanings. Like this, different padarthas are there, and their qualities are also there, which are all very well known in the world. Okay, loke prasiddhaha. Now, using that only, Shruti also has to reveal whatever it is revealing, because it is using the same words. In fact, our Pujya Swamiji used to say that the greatest magic is that we are all learning new things, okay, with old words, correct? Already known words only I can use. With those known words only, we somehow learn something which is new. That is the beauty of knowledge itself. Anyway, so here, in the world, we know that there are different objects are there. They all have their qualities. And based on that only, using them as an analogy or a drishtanta, and also without opposing this knowledge. If you start opposing this knowledge itself, your drishtanta itself will become invalid. Understand that, correct? That is why Bhashyakara is pointing out that he says, whatever is known already, and without opposing that knowledge and using that known things as analogies and examples only, Shruti has to reveal whatever is the unknown to you. If the Shruti starts negating whatever is known itself, the implication of that is your drishtanta itself will become invalid. It cannot stand anymore, correct? Your analogy itself can get negated then. That's what he says. So Shastra is trying to reveal, okay, by using whatever is established knowledge already, using that as the examples and analogy only, it is trying to reveal something else which is unknown to you. And in that process, what he says, na laukika vastu virodha jnapanaya. So it does not want to negate whatever is already known in the loka through pratyaksha and anumana. In fact, if it negates that, as I told you, then the very example it is using, we can become then invalid, correct? So let us say, like, even the sun is shining, Atma is shining. Let us say, we give an analogy like that. Now suddenly you say, no, in some other place Shruti has said that sun does not shine. If Shruti has the ability to say sun does not shine, correct? Then if it can overpower the perception, sense perception like that, then the very analogy you are using itself will become invalid. That's what he is trying to point out here. So Shruti is not interested in making your laukika knowledge invalid. So na laukika vastu virodha jnapanaya laukikameva drishtantam upadatte. So it cannot give laukika drishtanta and in the process also negate whatever is already known through worldly means of knowledge like pratyaksha and anumana. If it does like that, he says clearly, see, upadiyamanaha api drishtantaha anatakaha syat. Because then your drishtanta itself can be negated, correct? Saying that Shruti can then go ahead and even negate that drishtanta somewhere else. Therefore, whatever you say is not correct. It has, in fact, far-reaching implications. So he says, Dashtantika asangatehe. So, and then what? You will also not understand what is being revealed through the drishtanta, correct? Dashtantikaha means whatever is being revealed through the example is the dashtantika. Drishtanta is the example or analogy. Dashtantika is the one which is revealed through that. That also will not be understood by you correctly then if this happens. And then he gives Actually, he says, Nahi agnihi shitaha adityaha na tapati iti va drishtanta shatena api pratipadayitum shakyam, he says. So he says, you cannot establish that fire is cold or the sun does not cause heat. Even by giving hundreds of examples, you cannot reveal like that. That is not possible because these are already well-known facts, and Shruti is not interested in changing established facts. And here, the anadhigatattvam of the pramana he explains beautifully. He says, pramanantarena anyatha adhigatattvat vastunaha. So, if already a object is known through another pramana, correct? It is already known. That cannot be again negated by Shruti, or Shruti is not even interested in revealing that again. Then it will become what we call as anuvada only, correct? Because anadhigatam abadhitam, that is how we define prama itself. Knowledge itself is what? That which is not otherwise known through other means of knowledge, and that which can never be negated by any other means of knowledge also. That is how knowledge, valid knowledge is defined, and whatever is revealing this valid knowledge is the valid means of knowledge also for us. So that being the case, Shruti cannot come and interfere in the field of some other means of knowledge. Each means of knowledge is revealing a unique field. That's what we have to understand, correct? There is a unique field of revelation for each means of knowledge. They do not intersect with each other, and therefore Shruti cannot do that. Also, nacha pramanam pramanantarena viruddhyate. So in general, that's what he says. One means of knowledge cannot negate some other means of knowledge, whatever is revealed by something else, because they both have unique fields of revelation. So it is like saying your ears are disproving the color of an object. There is no access to the ears for the color, correct? Color is only accessible through your eyes. Neither your ear nor your tongue nor your nose can prove that it is of some color or disprove also. You cannot lick something and say whether it is green or yellow or red. You cannot. You cannot smell it and prove whether it is red, green or blue, or even dismiss it. Your eyes are saying it is red. Now you are saying, no, my ears are saying that they are yellow. Can you say that? You cannot say that. That is applicable even for Shruti. That's what Bhashyakara is pointing out. So, nacha pramanam pramanantarena viruddhyate. Pramanantara avishayam eva hi pramanantaram nyapayati. This is the anadhigatattvam part. I told you, correct? Whatever is not an object of any other means of knowledge alone should be revealed by a particular means of knowledge, correct? So eyes are revealing color means only eyes can reveal color. None of the other means of knowledge have any access to color. Sounds are revealed by ear means only ear can reveal the sounds. No other means of knowledge has access to that. Like that. So each means of knowledge is only revealing to you something which is not available through any other means of knowledge. That is a very important thing. Nacha laukika padartha ashrayena vyatirekena agamena shakyam ajnatam vastuvantram avagamayitum. So here now, especially with reference to Shruti, now Bhashyakara is talking. He says, even though Shruti is revealing something which you do not know already, but still it has to use the words and the meaning of the worldly languages only, correct? Laukika pada padartha ashrayena vyatirekena, without taking recourse to the words and meanings of the languages which are there in this world. Okay, this Shruti cannot reveal to you even that which is alaukikam. even to reveal something which is otherworldly or not in this world, it has to use the same words and their meanings. Therefore, what tasmat prasiddhya nyayam anusarata na shakya paramatmanah savayava amsha amshitva kalpana paramartataha pratipadayatum. Therefore, what Bhashyakara finally, the implication of all these things is your interpretation that Paramatma is Savayavaha, or Paramatma is the Amshi and all the Jivatmas are Amsha. This Kalpana, this imagination of yours, you can never establish it as truth because Shruti itself is not revealing that. Although there is an analogy which is used, you are not interpreting the analogy correctly. That's what Bhashyakara is pointing out here. So your Vakyas, also if you interpret it like that, your interpretation will go against Laukika Nyaya. Because if you say Paramatma is both Savayava and Nitya, then you are contradicting logic, correct? Or Paramatma is Amshi, having Amshas. Even if you say that Amsha Amshi Bhava is there, means again Paramatma cannot be Nitya, because whatever is having all these Avayavas or Amshas, whatever is put together will fall apart. They cannot be Nitya. They cannot be Satyam also, unchanging. All these things are problematic. So your interpretation goes against established knowledge. And there you cannot take recourse to the argument that Shruti is more powerful than Anumana or Pratyaksha and all that. This argument is wrong. Okay. Then this fellow again quotes. He says, Shudra Vispulingaha is there here, correct? And then Mamai Vamshaha. So in Gita also, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhutas Sanatanaha. It is there, correct? 15th chapter we all chant before we eat. So at least this verse and all we should remember, I think. We cannot forget that easily. We have chanted it a lot of times before we eat in our Gurukulam. So Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhutas Sanatanaha, like that. This Gita Vakya is there. Even there, if you go and read the Bhashya, it is interesting. Amsha Bhagavan says, just before this only, Bhagavan also says in the 6th verse that Yadgatva Ananivartante Tadhama Paramam Mama. So having reached where you never come back and all that he says, that is my Dhama. And then Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Whoever Jivas are there in the Jiva Loka also, they are all only my Amshas, my Avayavas, Bhaga, all that. Now here, what kind of Amsha or Bhaga it is? Bhashyakara there, he gives the analogy of like even the sun is entering the water as a reflection. That is the analogy he gives even for Amsha Amshi Bhava. And once the water, the Upadhi is gone, the reflection has returned back to the sun, it seems, and it can never come back, correct? That is that. Then it connects with, he says you have to connect it with that Yadgatvana Nivartante Tadhama Paramam Mama. Like that it is there. So it is not real Amsha Amshi, correct? It is like even the sun is entering a reflecting media. Once the reflecting media is gone, that sun goes back to the original sun, we have to say, as though. So like that, anyway, so here he is giving these two and says, iti cha shruyate smaryate cha iti chet. So but Shruti is very clear. Shruti is saying that Jivatma is spark from the fire. And Bhagavan says, all the Jivas are my Amsha. See, Amsha, Amshi, Bhava. Isn't it very clear? Now Bhashyakara has to argue here. He says, no, why? Ekatva pratyayartha paratvat. So here now Bhashyakara again explains the teaching methodology so beautifully. So what he says is all this Amsha or Vispulinga analogy, all that is also to teach the Ekatvam only, not for anything else. It is to only teach that Jivatma and Paramatma are one, to account for all your experiences and still teach the truth. Only these words are used they do not have any of their own something here, correct? They did not reveal anything other than this of their own. So ekatva pratyayartha paratvat. So even this Vispulinga analogy, fire and spark analogy, or Bhagavan saying all the jivas are my amshas, they are all only pointing out to the ekatva, or the identity between jivatma and paramatma. Now he explains how it is. He says agner hi vispulingaha agnireva iti ekatva pratyayarha drishtaha loke. So spark also is fire, correct? If you have some other fuel and the spark lands on that, what will happen? You have a can of petrol, one spark is good enough, correct? Is it not fire? By its very nature, spark also is only fire. It can also give heat. It is also giving out light. Both light and heat are there. In the parimana wise, if you measure it in centimeter and all that, it may be small, but it is essentially still fire only. So what is being taught by the Shruti is not the difference in the parinama, correct? In the size, that fire is a big flame, spark is chota. That is not what the Shruti is trying to teach you. What the Shruti is trying to teach you with this analogy is both fire and spark are of the same nature. That ekatvam only, that identity is what is being taught. Unless you interpret it like this, you cannot also have any consistency in what the Shruti is revealing. That also he will point out now. This is where that again upakrama, upasamhara. Normally we use those shad lingas, correct, to arrive at the tatparya. So how do we know Shruti's tatparya is this, or Shruti's intention to reveal is something? How do we know that Shruti wants to reveal something? We have to use the 6 lingas, which are again well established in Mimamsa. In the Mimamsa Shastra itself, upakrama, upasamharo, abhyasa, apurvata, phalam, all this like this. Arthavadopapatti cha, lingam tatparya nirnaya, like this, there is a verses there. So that he will point out now. So he says, this Agnireva iti ekatva pratyayarha drishtaha loke. So even in worldly language or worldly drishti also, you can say that spark and fire are one. There is no doubt about that. You put some petrol and see, you will know. Then what? Tata cha amshaha amshina ekatva pratyayarha. And similarly, even the amsha can be looked upon, the part can be looked upon as the whole. Okay. So if you want to invoke a person, so our Pujya Swamiji used to say, if you want to draw the attention of somebody, you do not have to give a whole body massage. You can touch their finger, it is good enough, correct? So you are basically invoking the whole through the part. So like this, even when Amsha Amshi is talked about, there also actually what is being revealed is the oneness alone. That is the Tatparya. So tatra evam sati vijnanatmanaha paramatma vikara amshatva vachakaha shabdaha paramatma ekatva pratyadhitsavaha. Okay, so all these words which are talking about the vijnanatma or the individual conscious being as a paramatma vikara or paramatma amsha, okay, as a part of the paramatma or a modification of paramatma also, they are all actually trying to only, or they have the desire to reveal the oneness of the Paramatma and Jivatma alone, nothing else. That is what is being revealed. And how do we know that? Now he says, Upakrama Upasamhara Abhyancha. So he is bringing the lingas now. He says, see how the Shruti starts, how it ends, what all it says in between. So he says, Sarvasu hi Upanishatsu Purvam Ekatvam Pratignyaya. So in all the Upanishads, it starts with Ekatvam, correct? One thing alone was there. Before this Srishti, Ekameva Advitiyam. Okay. Atma Eka Eva Agre Asit. All these things are there. So here, in all the Upanishads, initially the Pratignya or the introductory sentence is what? Ekatvam is revealed. Then what? Drishtantaihi hetubhischa. So this is the upapatti. Then supporting logic is given. Okay, analogies and different supporting logic, hetus. Paramatmanaha vikaramshaditvam jagataha pratipadya. So with different analogies and supporting logic, this Paramatma is shown as the cause. Correct? That means the Jagat is shown as the Paramatma Vikara or Paramatma Amsha. The entire creation has to be accounted for, correct? How do we account for it? By showing it as a part or a modification, means Karya here. So the Karana Karya Prakriya is presented with different analogies to make you understand that this world is not separate from Paramatma. So that is where this Vikara or Amsha Amshi Bhava and all is useful to understand. Okay, Jagataha Pratipadya, showing this Jagat as a Vikara or a part of this Paramatma. Then what? Punar Ekatvam Upasamharati. But while showing that, what happens? By showing the Jagat as a Karya, Jagat becomes Mithya in fact. Then Paramatma alone is Satyam. And again when it ends this way, it is only reinforce the oneness, the teaching. So again it ends by showing the oneness. So tad yata ihaiva tavat. So the same thing is there even in this Upanishad. Okay, it is going to come later on. Even he could have given an example from 1.4 also, but here he is giving from 2.4. Idam sarvam yada ayam atma, like that it is there. So all that is there here is this Atma alone. Like this it starts. Iti pratignyaya utpatti sthiti laya hetu drishtantaihi. So it gives different examples for utpatti, for creation, for sustenance, for resolution. Okay, utpatti sthiti laya hetu drishtantaihi vikara vikaritvadi ekatva pratyaya hetun pratipadya. So modification and that which gets modified, vikari. Okay. So adipadat, some other things also we have to take. Okay. Amsha, amshi, like that you can add all those things. Through all these things, what? Ekatvam only is revealed. Okay. Ekatva pratyaya hetun pratipadya anantaram abahyam ayamatma brahma iti upasamharishyati. So having shown the oneness means having shown this Jagat is not separate from this Paramatma. Again it concludes by showing that this Paramatma alone is there everywhere. Anantaram Abahyam means it is there everywhere. And this Brahman is nothing but this self alone. Ayamatma Brahma iti upasamharishyati. It is going to complete it like that. So whenever you interpret something, you have to see how it starts, what logic is given in between to establish the subject matter, how it ends. Then only there is consistency. You cannot take one analogy and then start literally interpreting it and getting something out of it. That will not give you proper understanding of what Shruti is revealing. Therefore, what? Tasmat upakrama upasamharabhyam ayam arthaha nischiyate. So from the beginning and the end, this is the meaning. What? Paramatma ekatva pratyaya dradhimne utpatti sthiti laya pratipadakani vakyani iti. So all these vakyas are only to show the ekatvam of Paramatma, that Paramatma alone is there really. Even Jivatma is nothing but Paramatma. To make that knowledge firm, dradhimne he says, okay, to make it firm only, all these different vakyas are talked about. Even the Srishti, Utpatti, Sthiti, Laya, all these things also, the sentences which are talking about that are finally only they do not have their own tatparya or anything. In fact, creation itself is talked about in Upanishad only to show the creation as mithya, only for revealing the ekatvam of the Paramatma. That is where the intention is. The intention, that is why even they say that sometimes the Shruti does not talk uniformly about the creation. In one place 5 bhutas are talked about, in another place 3 is talked about. and sometimes the Srishti Prakriya is not the same. What is the samadhana for that? Is that Srishti Prakriya itself is not the Tatparya of the Upanishad. So therefore, whatever your interpretation is not correct, that's what Bhashyakara says. So we'll continue this next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.